And that's the long and short of it. I was hoping you could do something to help out, like maybe send a new magic sword down this way.
Oh yes, because those grow on trees here. You know what, just let me pop out to the garden and see what's ripe.
Nice. You're hilarious. Come on, man, can you help us out or not?
I can, but the question is, should I? I'm still getting reamed because I sent you the rings last time we did this. If I get caught one more time, my ass is grass, and even though I'm high rank, I'm probably gonna get excommunicated for this.
Oh, damn. Sorry, man. Look, I'm not trying to get you into trouble or anything. If you can send us anything at all, then, that would be great.
You are so damn lucky we're friends, Rogue. I started prepping something when you lost your katana.
Cool. Thanks, GC.
Don't thank me yet, you're not getting anything special. This is just your standard lightning blade. Something that minor should stay off the Council's radar.
Yeah, I think that can work. Hey Finn, does that work for you? You mean, does buying something from a medieval snake oil salesman work? No, but it's your money. Do what you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did the peanut gallery have something to add?
Guys, no. I just hope all your magic tricks impress the kiddies at their birthday parties.
Says the steampunk bitch. Hey, did you know they discovered electricity recently?
Enough! We're all stressed and we want to see this done.
Fine. Whatever. Just keep in mind, if you're going after the Strife guy, he's probably gonna have a much stronger arsenal ready, okay? You're gonna have to play this smart.
Don't worry. Once we find him, I can come up with something. Of course, it'd be nice if you could also come down and help us.
What if I could, but artifact requisition is a never-ending chore that I have to put up with. Now, getting it to you will take some persuasion on my part, but I'll call you when I have something set up.
I'll be glad when this is over. I swear, if this is a fucking waste of time, I'm gonna release a swarm of robot spiders in your house.
You have robot spiders?
I'm an engineer. We all have lots of robot things. Well, it's gonna be a bit longer. Grab a book or something. I need to film a review. I would, but so far none of your books catch my eye. Do you know that you have 3 copies of the complete works of Shakespeare? I bet you'd like the Iron Druid Chronicles. Let me guess. Some American super soldier walks into a cave, finds an amulet or something, and gets magic powers. It's actually about a 2,000-year-old Irish druid who fights witches and gods. And he's not a leprechaun or anything. Second case, top shelf. Check it out, I think you'd really like it. Hey, sure, can't wait.
Are you sure he'll come through?
He has to. Hello and welcome to The Book Was Better, where we're watching today's movies one book at a time. Well, the last movie in the Maze Runner trilogy is finally coming out, so I thought it was time to review the second movie, The Scorch Trials. If you want a recap, I'll leave a link to my Maze Runner review in the description, but I found the movie more fun and energizing than the book. I wasn't sure if that pattern would continue in the sequel, but wonder no longer, because it doesn't. The Scorch Trials was published in 2010 and written by James Dashner. It picks up immediately after the first book, with Thomas and the other survivors still being studied by Wicked. Thomas and the others have to cross a burned out section of the world, a barren desert called the Scorch, in order to reach the safe haven. However, there's lots of confusion, obfuscation, betrayal, and death along the way. There's a lot of emotion written into the text, and a real drive to find out what exactly Wicked is up to and why they're creating all these ridiculous trials for no discernible reason. Color me intrigued, but this better be leading to something good. If this all turns out to be a simulation or something, I swear I'm going on a murder spree. The movie didn't get as much praise as the book, but it's not a complete failure. It came out in 2015, did okay critically, but did very well financially, thanks mostly to the foreign market. Frankly, I'll just be glad to see the series wrap up, especially since The Death Cure was supposed to come out last year in February 2017. They hit a little snag when the main star, Dylan O'Brien, was struck by a car in a stunt gone wrong. He's fine now, fortunately, though that accident had a strange impact on his role in American Assassin. But that's for another review. So what did this book do right that the first book got wrong? Well, let's find out for ourselves as we dash through the Scorch Trials. The movie opens at the edge of a quarantine zone with a young Thomas being delivered to Wicked for his safety, just like we see in almost every zombie movie these days. But it was just a dream as Thomas wakes up in the helicopter that saved him and his surviving friends in the last movie. A swarm of zombies attack, but the Gladers are safe for now as they enter the facility, which is run by a man named Jensen, played by Aidan Gillen.
You kids doing alright?
Hi, Littlefinger! Fancy meeting you here! No doubt you're doing some good, honest work and are in no way involved in some convoluted behind-the-scenes plot.
I guarantee it. Would I lie?
The facility is nice, especially compared to the place the Gladers were taken to in the book, which was basically a prison in the desert with no doors. This is also where we learn about the cranks, as they're called, when one of them runs up to a window and screams, "I'm a crank, kill me."
Fucking zombies, man.
Really, Dashner? That's how you chose to unveil this? That's the best you can do? Hell, the movie handles this so easily that it's almost a throwaway line. Also in the book, there was a second maze whose survivors were all girls, plus one boy named Eris, called Group B. The movie decided that it's a little more epic if there are countless mazes with dozens upon dozens of survivors. Okay, calling it now. This stupid maze project is more expensive than anything else humanity has ever done combined. Building and maintaining these mazes has to cost billions of dollars each. Having countless facilities just to find a cure for the flare, as we're led to believe, seems amazingly unnecessary, especially when standard quarantine protocols would probably do a lot more to help without sacrificing teenagers. The movie clearly shows that the flare is a transmittable disease. The book settled that problem by explaining that everyone on Earth was already exposed to the flare, so a cure was really all they could hope for. I don't know how the screenwriters missed that one! But not everything is perfect in this new facility. Teresa is separated from the group, which really gets Thomas suspicious.
Where are they taking her?
I just have to run a few more tests.
On the other side of a set of doors that no one ever comes back from.
Do you think I'm an idiot?
This is not what they did in the book, which was separate Teresa from the guys and give her to Group B, while Thomas and friends got Eris, this skinny twig of a kid who really doesn't do anything after the first 30 minutes in the movie. This works well enough in the film version because at least Eris is introduced well, but he had a tremendous impact on later events in the book, which the movie outright cuts. So Eris takes Thomas on a midnight run through the strangely spacious vent system. Wow, what John McClane wouldn't give for this.
I know what a TV dinner feels like.
And speaking of TV dinners, the doctors in this facility are bringing a lot of human-shaped lumps into this closed-off room.
They bring in new ones every now by clockwork.
Since Thomas isn't one to leave well enough alone, he and Eris sneak inside the room to see what they're doing. And it's pretty much what you'd expect, harvesting brain goo from all the kids. That's right, Littlefinger is actually working for Wicked!
What a twist!
Yeah, what a twist.
Actually, while it's on my mind, there's one small detail that threw me off in the adaptation. The company used different acronyms in the book and movie. It's WCKD in the movie and WICKED in the book. I mean, at that point you might as well call yourselves...
Every villain is lemons.
It always struck me as kinda dumb that an organization like this would blatantly call itself something overtly bad while claiming to be good.
Wicked is good.
The plot thickens as Littlefinger walks in and contacts Dr. Ava Page. You know, this lady.
Wicked is good.
Apparently these children harvesters are some obscure hope for a cure to the flare.
If you are not up to the task, I will find someone who is.
That won't be necessary. I'd suggest we start with the most recent arrivals.
Just get it done.
Now knowing that his friends are in mortal danger, Thomas and Eris rush back to save them. Then we get escape scene number 1 out of, well, goddamn a whole lot. The Gladers are able to dodge the facility guards long enough to capture one of the doctors. But for a guy called a runner, in a series called The Maze Runner, Dylan O'Brien sprints like a spaz. Look at that. I get that he's tired and overwhelmed by adrenaline, but he's just flailing his arms all over the place. They're arms, Thomas, not dead fish nailed to your shoulders. They hunker down inside the remains of what may have been a mall at some point. The movie then shows one of the more disastrous flaws in its writing.
Mino, give me a light. Someone's been down here.
The plot just face plants as everyone digs around for supplies or things to look at. All of a sudden, showing the audience mounds of clothes or giving us poor jump scares with some mannequins becomes so important that the movie dedicates the next 5 minutes to it. Now you want to have peaks and valleys in your writing so that the audience can have their exciting moments, but can then recover so that they don't get exhausted. You don't want your peaks, the drama and action scenes, too high, and you don't want your valleys, your exposition and comedy relief scenes, to be too low or too long. This scene is not so much a valley between action scenes as it is an oceanic trench. And if that weren't bad enough, this pattern repeats itself numerous times. The Gleaners decide to head towards the mountains in the north to find some resistance militia against Wicked called the Right Arm. These people were absent from the book, but given the movie's ability to draw from the source material, I could believe that they were in the third. Someone in the comments may need to correct me. But before they can leave, this happens.
Thomas, watch out!
Seriously? Another chase scene not 10 minutes after the last one? God, you think the series... Oh, right. Runner. During the escape, we get a highlight from one of the lesser-known Gleaners named Winston.
Hold it back!
Actually, Winston has been getting a lot of notice this movie, helping out in minor but cool moments, like earlier when the group was escaping the facility.
You guys want to get out of here, right? Just go.
I'll go. Okay, Winston, go, come on.
In the book, he was kind of a nobody. I mean, he was the head of the Slicers, the group that slaughtered livestock for food at the maze, but he didn't stand out. A lightning storm later kills him rather unceremoniously after getting saved from what I can only describe as sentient liquid metal balls. Obviously, the movie is trying to build up to something good for Winston. Son of a bitch! The Gleaners get away, but Winston is badly wounded and infected with the flare.
I'm not gonna make it.
His death is much more tragic than in the book, but there's the little problem of what they did with the flare virus. In the book, it drove people mad, tearing away at their diminishing humanity. It was a devastating neurodegenerative disease. In the movie, they're zombies. Just plain and simple zombies. Because shut up. But it's not just that they're zombies. The movie actually goes one additional step backwards and lifts moments from other movies, like Shaun of the Dead, or 28 Days Later. And while everyone had the flare already in the book, the movie allows the disease to spread by open wound contact. It's not enough that they got this wrong with the adaptation, but that they have to rifle through a bag of cliché zombie tropes too? So after leaving Winston to shoot himself, the team has to go running again, this time through a lightning storm.
Come on, Teresa! Go!
We get another good action scene before our heroes wind up inside a building on the edge of a decrepit town. And this is where they meet Brenda. She was infected with the flare in the book and was already losing her mind. One scene I enjoyed was when she casually introduced herself by calmly proclaiming that she was thinking of eating her own fingers. But she doesn't have nearly the same amount of personality in the movie, like when she brings the Gleaners to meet her boss Jorge.
Who's Jorge?
You'll see. No one's come out of the Scorch in a long time. You've just got him curious.
Boring!
Not only does she not have the flare here, again making me question the need for a cure, but she doesn't have that YOLO mentality that made her stand out in the book. If the flare was gonna kill her, then she was at least gonna have some fun first. And then there's what they did to Jorge.
3 questions. Where did you come from? Where are you going? How can I profit?
Jorge is closer in personality to his literary counterpart, but he's at least 20 years older. He also wants to join the Right Arm and leave his current batch of minions behind, so it looks like the Gleaners are home free. Or, because God hates these kids, they need to suffer a little more. I'll give the movie credit, there's definitely a lot of running in this. Littlefinger leads an army to snatch the kids back, but Jorge has other plans, destroying his own base to slow them down.
Holy shit!
Thomas and Brenda are separated from the others and need to find their own way out of town through an underground tunnel network, filled with zombies. That's right, it's a sewer level! Also, this counts as another escape scene. And now the flare victims aren't just zombies, but they're tree people too. What the hell, did we need to rip off The Last of Us 2? After getting away from more zombies, Thomas and Brenda make their way to a party, hoping that the others will have made their way there. But getting inside is a little harder than they expected.
Drink this. What is it? The price of admission.
The admission price ends up knocking Thomas and Brenda out, who wake up with the rest of the group, having knocked out the doorman and walked in for free. So, waiting outside for literally 5 minutes would have been the better option. After a short discussion with the doorman, he hands over the keys to his car.
Where's Bertha?
Not Bertha.
But that's just an arbitrary shortcut to the next scene when several cars block their path forward. Half the planet's dead and there's still traffic. This must be Los Angeles. The group gets ambushed by snipers, but Jorge is ready with a block of C4.
Drop it. I said drop it!
And somehow the snipers were able to just waltz up despite being in a very echoey canyon. To properly demonstrate why this is awful, we now present to you Gaming Tips with NPC. In your standard deathmatch, you have several classes to choose from, such as the sniper or the grenade-spamming nooblet. Snipers will often run around the map, mistaking their guns for single-fire assault rifles. Contrast this to the grenade-spamming nooblet, who does his best to blow up literally everything in sight. These characters run around as if high on PCP and are as likely to kill themselves as an enemy.
That was the worst throw ever.
But for a spammer to get dropped on by a sniper from 5 feet away like this shows how completely worthless they are. So please, do everyone a favor and drop out of the match, you ignorant, dumb luck-having, brain-dead noob! The ambush seems dire, until one of the shooters recognizes Eris.
Eris?
Oh my god, Harriet?
Oh my god. What the hell are you doing here?
These girls are from the Group B maze, though with so many other mazes now, who knows where they land. In the book, they were a rival band of kids racing the gliders to the supposed safe haven, who ended up kidnapping Thomas so that Teresa could trick him for some unforeseen reason. More on that later. Instead, the girls here have been rescued by the Right Arm, and bring Thomas and the others to their leader, a big guy named Vince.
I thought the Right Arm was supposed to be an army.
Yeah, we were. This is all that's left of us. A lot of good people died getting us this far.
The moment is soured when Brenda collapses. No one's sure why until Vince checks her leg.
Oh shit. Crank! You gotta crank! Step back! Listen!
During escape scene number 5, Brenda got bitten on the leg by a pursuing crank. But not to worry, because the Right Arm has Mary, the miracle doctor, who's able to make medicine that will delay the flare's effects.
I need to get some blood from you.
Okay, why Thomas's blood? Is it some magical panacea? I swear, if this turns into Star Trek Into Darkness, I'm gonna find the director and punch him in the back of the head until I'm cross-eyed! The medicine works, Brenda is feeling better, and the Gliders are looking forward to settling down for a while and getting out of Wicked's crosshairs.
Hey, where's Teresa? She went up there.
And this is where the biggest element of the story comes in. Teresa's betrayal. Teresa gives this tragic backstory about how her mother caught the flare and had to be locked in her room.
She said she was feeling better. The visions were gone. She'd taken care of them. She took her eyes out, Thomas.
Keep in mind that this is inconsistent with the cranks we've seen thus far, all of which were just zombies, not crazed lunatics dealing with some fantasy version of schizophrenia. And as we descend into the climax, I remind my viewers that they should really read the book before finishing this review because it's way different than the movie. Teresa was a traitor in the book, but it was so much worse there. Remember those stupid telepathic powers that Teresa and Thomas shared from the first book? Well, they're actually useful in the Scorch Trials because Teresa is torn away from the group early. She acts erratically, twisting Thomas to fit her needs, kissing him in one scene where she briefly found him again, and begging him to trust her despite all the evidence against it. It comes to a head after Thomas is captured by the all-girls group, and Teresa gets Thomas to follow her to a cave where Eris is waiting.
Hey, Eris!
Hey, guys.
I kinda like that kid. Yeah. I still don't trust him, though.
Mino's cynicism is well-founded because Eris was working with Teresa the whole time. Teresa stabs Thomas in the back, stringing him along on some romantic endeavor to save both groups. When Thomas was at his most vulnerable, though, Teresa reveals that it was all a trick, that she and Eris were conspiring the whole time, that they were romantically involved from even before they entered the maze, and that Thomas never stood a chance with her. They were also going to shove Thomas into a small room in the cave because the people from Wicked told them to. This moment was more symbolic of the fact that Thomas was no longer near anyone he could trust and was completely isolated. The raw emotion Thomas experiences shows why Dante left the final circle of hell for traitors. When the event is over, Teresa begs Thomas to forgive her and says that she was forced to do it, but he's too far gone to even look at her. And so was I. The fact that this betrayal had so many layers to it, with Thomas trusting Teresa beyond all logic, left me exhausted. And I genuinely love when a book can do that to me, even if it means I'd rather see Teresa's head get cratered in by a Volkswagen. One of the other reasons this worked is because, as a reader, I wanted to believe Teresa was telling the truth, and there was very little foreshadowing building up to this moment, unlike in the movie. In an earlier scene, Teresa had taken a radio from one of Jorge's men and had shown some doubt in what they were doing.
I think we should go back.
What?
Just listen to me.
What are you talking about? Go back. After everything they've done to us.
It's not that simple.
Yeah, I think it is that simple.
While the book suggested that Teresa had been working for Wicked the entire time, the movie's Teresa decided to betray the others with just enough foreshadowing that you could understand how it happened, but without making it screamingly obvious. While betrayal plot twists are often overused and predictable as hell, it's incredible to see not one, but two examples that can do it right. In their own ways, of course. As far as fight scenes go, this is great. It's both action-packed and emotionally charged. The good guys are getting slaughtered or captured, while the bad guys proudly proclaim that this is all for the greater good. The sheer arrogance of Ava Page while she calmly murders refugees while believing that she's the good guy makes my blood boil.
No matter what you think of me, I am not a monster, I'm a doctor. I swore an oath to find a cure, no matter the cost.
First, do no harm, right? Oh, unless someone disagrees with you, of course.
At least my conscience is clear.
So is mine.
The movie's laying the evil overlord bit pretty thick, complete with this Palpatine-esque march out of her personal plane, but I'm so pumped to see her get killed in the third movie that I don't even care how in your face this is! The right arm ends up losing the fight, with the kids they rescued getting forced into the prisoner carriers, until Thomas does something desperate. The remaining Gladers gather around him, choosing death over going back into the maze, much to Teresa's horror.
Thomas, please stop. I made a deal with them. They promised we'd be safe, all of us.
You do realize that Wicked wants your friends so they can hook them up to machines and drain their brain fluid, right? That'll kill them, dumbass. Is it wrong that I'm genuinely happy to see her upset? Thomas is about to hit the button, taking himself, the Gladers, Paige, and Littlefinger out in one blast, when suddenly...
Thomas!
A fight breaks out again, with bullets and explosions everywhere, while the bad guys cut their losses and leave with the victims they've kidnapped thus far. Mino gets captured as well, though, defending the remaining Gladers. The next morning, the survivors gather their supplies and recoup their losses. Vince plans to get the rescue kids to the safe haven, but Thomas plans to go after Wicked directly.
I'm gonna kill Ava Page.
Well, it's a good speech, kid. So what's your plan?
This movie has so much potential shining through that I really want to give it a higher score. The action scenes are all great, all of them. They're intense, the music cues in wonderfully, you care about the characters, and the acting isn't bad either. Unfortunately, all the other scenes are at least somewhat lacking. The movie's biggest failing is the pacing. Outside of the action, the movie moves as quickly as a dead Roadrunner. It feels like several scenes were drawn out to reach some arbitrary movie length or to tell the movie as realistically as possible. Whatever the reason, while the action is great, the movie as a whole comes up short. The movie gets a 2 out of 5. I'm happy to say that the book was a massive improvement over the first. It started slow, but that soon changed when Thomas and the others were sent into the Scorch. The characters could use some further improvement, but they're much more likable than before. There's also the ridiculous degree that Wicked goes to when following Thomas around, as if no matter what he does, his every move is predicted beforehand and it's all part of some master scheme. And again, I really hope for some very methodical explanation in the next book. But oh god, that betrayal arc in the end there. Seriously, Teresa can go die in a fire. The book gets a 4 out of 5. The movie certainly lifts plenty of elements from the book, but uses them very differently, usually less effectively. Brenda is a shell of her former self, everything with a flare was wrong, and I'm not even sure why Eris was here. What the movie did right was the action, which carried over extremely well, helped greatly by the music. And while there were no grand portrayals of the source material that I noticed, outside of a potential misuse of the right arm, most of the story elements are a dull comparison of their literary counterparts. At least the series is concluding, which is a rare enough feat in and of itself. We'll just have to see how they wrap everything up in The Death Cure when it hits theaters later this month. As an adaptation, The Scorch Trials gets a 2 out of 5. Okay, Crimson, you were right about—
You son of a bitch!
I know you don't like her, but she can teleport!
Do not invite that woman into my house!
What's going on?
It's the best way to get you the damn sword, okay?
What about the guy you had deliver those rings? Send him!
If you mean Maxwell, he's off on another job, okay? I have no idea when he's gonna be back.
Oi!
What in the hell is going on? It's a good news, bad news kind of thing. Okay, what's the good news?
The good news is I have a way to get Crim the sword I promised.
And what's the bad news?
He's using Slade to deliver it.
And who the hell is Slade?
She's a talented freelancer who works for me sometimes on a couple odd jobs.
She's an uncontrolled sycophant who does whatever the hell she wants.
She's a contractor.
She's a thief!
I see. And the postal service isn't an option because
we can't risk losing track of magical artifacts.
I swear, if this comes back to bite me in the ass, I'm going to extract horrible, terrible revenge!
Come on, man. She's not that bad. What's the worst that could happen?